Okay, this is part 4 of the Arch and Column Builder tutorial. You're going to need to have your toolbox opened up, which we have here, and also your Arch and Column Builder needs to be opened up. We are going to build an actual arch and going to learn to use a tool that's called the modifier. Let's create a new file, and let's go to File and Save As, and we'll save this as Arch Practice. Practice. How do you spell that? Practice. That looks good enough. Okay, Arch Practice. Okay, so let's go to the Arch and Column Builder first, and we're going to go to your object, your 11-inch quad 1 twist, the one we made earlier. And you can Control A to select all, Control C to copy, and then go to Window, go to your Arch Practice we just made, and Control V to paste, bring that in here. And then we're going to need some colors for this, so let's go to Window Toolbox, and let's make this some crazy colors. Let's go to our Radiant Pearl. This would be nice and crazy. Let's see, let's do lime green, and orange works. Let's see, and purple. Oh, that's gonna be nice. And then let's do yellow. Okay, and remember I'm just clicking on the color and then hitting apply with the object selected here. So now we're going to use the drag select tool here again. Drag and select all 4 of these. Control C to copy. Go to our window, go to Arch Practice, the new one we just created. Control V to paste, and then delete to get rid of those. And now we have our 4 colors. Let's go to the object viewpoint and go ahead and snap all the frames using the frame view, frame all views. And now let's apply our colors. I'm just selecting the balloon that we have here that's grouped already. And let's go purple. Oh, this is nice. And then let's do orange opposite the yellow, and let's do lime green opposite the purple. Okay, so we've got this beautiful excuse me, start of an arch going here. So let's say let's go to the front one view, go to the viewpoint, and then let's use the zoom tool and drag and zoom out. Give ourselves some room to work, and then we're going to use the move with the viewpoint still selected and kind of move this down to the bottom. Okay, so let's say we want to make a 25-foot long arch. Not 25 foot wide, but the total linear length of the arch is going to be 25 feet. So the quickest way to figure that out is we're going to go to the cube over here, selecting the cube. And then we're going to drag this out here just like this and create a cube and double click on it. Now 25 feet in inches is going to be, I'm going to do this in my head really quick, 20 feet would be 240 plus 60 is 300. So 300 inches would be 25 feet, and it'll make it 24. So 24 by 300 by 24. Going to edit, and then we're going to locate, and we're going to actually stand on ground with this, and then isolate the x-axis here. Use the move tool and drag this over. Now what we just made is a 25-foot measuring stick. So our arch needs to be as long as this is tall. So now with the multi-select tool, we're going to isolate the y-axis this time. Come over here and just drag select this entire thing. Control C, Control V, make sure you have the move tool selected, and just drag this out like we have in the past. And now a quick keyboard shortcut. I'm going to start showing you some shortcuts as we're going here. One of them is if you mouse wheel, you can actually zoom in using the mouse wheel, and we can get this spacing here as exact as we can get it. I don't have my snapping on, sorry. So there we go. Make sure my grid is at 0.25. It is, okay. So make sure you have your grid snapping enabled 0.25, and then what you want to do is get these 2 triangles here, these gaps, to look as close as you can to identical. Once we've done that, we can go ahead and snap the frame again using the view, frame all views, and you can see we're getting a little closer to our height. So now we'll use the drag select again, and this time we'll select both of these, use the move tool, Control C, Control V again, and we're going to drag that one up and out, and then we're going to mouse wheel in. If you don't have a mouse wheel, you go to the viewpoint and then use the zoom tool here, and you can drag right and left holding your mouse button to zoom in and out. Okay, but we're going to use our wheel here, and then we're going to scoot this just like that, unselect it by selecting out in the field, and then we're going to frame the view again. Okay, we're getting really close. So use our drag select tool again, and we're just going to grab this top one this time. Control C, Control V. We're going to zoom in on this spot right here with the wheel, and then with our move tool we're going to drag this out again. This is all stuff you're pretty familiar with. We've been doing this quite a bit. So we've got that right there. Okay, and then we're going to go to the viewpoint again and then frame the view again. And now you can see we are past. By the way, I'm just going back to the selection tool and clicking out in the field here to unselect, just like that. So if I have this selected, I click out here and selects it. Okay, so now we are past the length we need to be, but the twist is good, everything's good. So what we're going to do at this point is use the drag select tool, and we're going to select this entire thing, this entire column, this entire arch, whatever you want to call it. And now you're going to go to your build option here. Now this is very important. Make sure you have the colors the way you want them and that the colors are correct, because once we're going to ungroup this, once you ungroup all of this, you would have to go back. If you want to change the color, you're going to have to do each individual balloon, and that can be very tedious. So tell you what we're going to do. Let's do this. Let's leave this where it is. We're going to Control A, Control C to copy. This little safety net here. We're going to go to Object and New. Call this Object 2, that's fine. And then Control V to paste. And now what we've done is we've created an exact copy of Object 1. If you go back and forth, they're exactly the same. So what you have here is kind of an assembled part of your arch. This you can still undo and modify and change if you want to make color changes and things like that. So we'll keep this here as something we can fall back on if we need it later, because there's some things we're going to be doing that you cannot undo. Okay, so let's go back to Object 1, and we are going to use the drag select tool here and select all of the balloons here. Don't worry about your measuring stick over here. You're going to go to Build and then Ungroup, and you'll see now every single individual balloon is its own standalone mesh now. You can actually grab one and hide it if you want to, just like that. Okay, so what we can do now is with the drag select tool, we can come over here and you can either make it just over 25 or just under 25. I'm going to go just under, so I'm going to select this group here and then just click delete on my keyboard, and now I have my 25-foot long section of arch. Go back to the selection tool, select your measuring stick here, and then delete that, and you have 25-foot. Your 25-foot arch is ready to go. So let's go to File and Save. So we save our progress. And here is where it gets a little bit tricky. Alright, we're going to go to the viewpoint and going to snap the frame view again, get everything centered up nice and neat. And now what we need to do, let's go to All on the view here. So click on Front and go to All. And because we're going to be able to see this from the top. So what we need to do in order to modify this with the modifier is we need to make all of these individual meshes one mesh. So what we're going to do is called joining the solids. Once you join solids, that's what you cannot undo. So that's why we're going to keep our backup over here just in case we need it. And what we're going to do is join the solids here. So you can Control A or use the drag select tool here. So we're going to Control A. So now we've selected every single one of these solids, every single one of these meshes. Go to the Build option, and then you're going to go to Join Solids. Now your computer is going to do some pretty heavy lifting right here, so give it a second to do its thing. You might get the hourglass like I have. You might get animators not responding. Just sit tight and wait, let it do its thing. It's calculating a lot, and still calculating. and still calculating. And what it's doing is it's basically joining all of these individual meshes or solids into one single solid. When it's done, when it finishes, see, there's my not responding. When it finishes, you'll have one box around this entire thing. Now, it makes this different from grouping. Okay, there it goes, it's done. Grouping can be undone, and you can have groups and subgroups inside of subgroups. And that's a quick, easy way to work with multiple objects as a group. But when they are joined as a solid, they work as a single piece. They are a single solid single object. Now, we have to do that because we're going to modify this. We're going to actually bend this, excuse me, bend this using the modifier. So that's why we do the whole join solids. Okay, you cannot undo that. You can Control Z and undo it, but then, I mean, yeah. So just keep your backup over here in case you need it. All right. Excuse me. Okay, so this tool over here is the warp modifier. We're going to click on that. Come over here and click and drag a box out like this, and then you're going to get this little modifier selector here, and you want to select bend. We're not going to skew, swell, taper, or twist. We're going to bend. Then click OK, and then edit, locate, you guessed it, center about origin. Okay, and now what we're going to need to do is use the scale tool. We still have it selected. You're going to use this tool right here, which is the non-uniform scale. Click on that, make sure your XYZ is available, and then come out here and drag and pull this out till you want the box bigger than what you're modifying. So from the top view, we're working in the top view, and we're just right now sizing the width and the length and depth, whatever you want to call it, of the box, so it fits around all of our balloons. Now from the front view, you're going to come down here, and now you're going to right click and drag to the right. And what that does is it's going to pull it out like this and make it taller, and it'll begin to cover your entire object, just like that. So go a little bit past, just like I have here, and then you're going to isolate your y-axis like we have in the past, and then pull this down, use the move tool, and then pull this down just like this until you've got it kind of centered top to bottom on your object. So you see in the top here, what we've basically done is completely caged in our section of arch with the modifier. Okay. Now one more step with the selection tool. Right click on your object. You can click any of these because it's all one object now, and what you'll see is you now have the object selected and the modifier selected. If you don't, click on the modifier and right click on the object so you have both selected. And go to build, and then we're going to go to modifiers and then bind modifier. What that does is that binds the modifier to the arch that we're working with. If it does something squirrely like this, don't panic. This is normal. Okay, now go ahead and double click on the modifier and you get the modifier editor, and here is our angle. Let's go 45 degrees. Click OK, and I don't like that, so what you can do is undo this up here, or Control Z, double click on the modifier again. This is a little trial and error. Let's go 90 degrees, double that. That gives us a nice curve, right? That's kind of a shallow curve. Okay, so then what you're going to do is go back to build. If you like that, you like the way that looks, go back to build, and then you're going to go to join solids. And again, you have to wait until it finishes doing its thing. It's working. Working. Not responding. Just be patient. Your computer's probably a lot faster than mine and won't take this long. But just wait for it to finish doing its thing. And any second now. There it is. Okay, so check that out. We now have a curved arch. Okay, if you don't like that, you can undo, and then undo, and straighten it back out. Double click on the modifier. I want to be a little more curved to it, so let's go 120 degrees for the angle. Look at that. That's a nice bend, right? Okay, build. We're going to join solids. Wait for it to finish. For some reason in the preview view, it may do this to you where you see just the one twist like this. It's all still there. I think it's just simplifying it. so it can work with it and what we call the general user interface, because it's kind of working in real time. So it's just simplifying your shape. It's all still there, like you saw once it finishes joining solids. Just have to be patient for it to finish working and not responding. So give it a second to do its thing here. Okay, there it is. So what we have is excuse me, an arch. It's kind of hanging on its side like a candy cane here. So we're going to go to, let's re-enable the X, Y, and Z just in case. And let's go to, while we have this selected, we're going to go to the rotate tool right here. Click on that. And now this is important, not from the front view, but from the left view. So just right click over here real quick to enable this view. And now with the rotation tool enabled, you're going to arrow key down, making sure this view is enabled. If this view is enabled and you arrow key down, it's going to do something weird like that. Okay, so don't do that. You want to be in this view and then arrow key down. And you're going to see your arch is going to turn on its side here just like this. Now if you watch over here, you can see the other end of the arch coming down. And what you want to do is get the two ends as close as you can together. Go ahead and do one view, and then we will frame the view using the frame view. Back to the rotate tool. So you can see we can get it pretty close. If you want to disable snapping, you might be able to get a little higher resolution, or not. Okay, so go back to all, and now you can see from the front your arch looks like this. We're going to go ahead and grab it and move it using the move tool with it selected. So you can see what's weird though is we have this weird kind of box drawn around it, right? So if you want to do is go here to build, and then you can do join solids one more time. Once you have the arch positioned on its side correctly, wait for it to join the solids one more time. By the way, the more balloons you're working with inside of your model, your object, obviously the longer this is going to take. But it does eventually do its thing. So we'll just wait here a second while this is doing its thing. Now obviously with the modifier tool you can make this any angle you want. You can make it steeper, you can make it less steep. Also what's kind of cool is, go ahead and edit, locate, center about origin, frame view, snap to the frame, and there we go. So there is your finished arch. Go over here, we're going to zoom out a little bit, just want to be able to show it to you. Now we got a little distortion going on over here because this perspective gets a little screwed up sometimes. But you can still see it. And what it does is you've got some distortion you can see in these bottom balloons here. It's how it collapses and bends and moves the wireframe in the mesh. It's not real noticeable, especially to your client. So it works. It does the job. Here's another quick way we can look at it here. So there it is. So if we go like this and go ahead and render image 800, 600. Give you a quick render of what it looks like kind of finished. Pretty cool, right? So that is how you use the modifier tool to make and bend an arch. And you can obviously make that any length you want. If you are doing a string of pearl, what you would do is, well, you know what, I would just do a tutorial on a string of pearl arch in the next video. One more thing really quick. Let's go to our second object here. Now you're probably saying to yourself, you know what, Ray, arches, a helium filled arch doesn't look exactly like that. If it's helium, it has kind of a weird, kind of like the arch in St. Louis. So what we're going to do is, I'll show you really quick here. I'm going to build and ungroup like we did earlier. I'm going to kind of not tell you everything I'm doing here because you already know how to do all this. Okay, and we're going to build, join solids. So bear with me here while I join solids again. What we're going to do this time is we're going to change the size of the modifier so it bends just the middle section of our arch. And what we can do is simulate more what an actual helium-filled arch looks like for the client. So they're not looking at your 3D image and going, hey, my arch doesn't look like this nice smooth curve. It looks more like this. So I'll show you how to do that real quick. Obviously, if you're building your arch on a frame, then you can control, obviously, how it bends and how it sits on the frame. And again, using the modifier, you can bend things and twist things to fit whatever framing you happen to be using. Okay, I'm going to delete our measuring stick here. Alright, so I'm going to grab the modifying tool. I'm going to go back to all the views here. I'm going to drag this out. Oops, come back, modifier. I'm going to drag this out here. Yes, I want to bend. Okay, edit, locate, center about origin. Okay, now using the scale, non-uniform scale tool, I'm going to bring this down and then make it about, I don't know, about that big. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it to the middle. And a quick way to find the middle of this arch, we're going to locate it, edit, locate, and center about origin. Go to my one view in front here. Snap the frame view, select my modifier, and then what I can do is kind of eyeball this into the middle, or I can even go to edit and locate and center about origin. Alright, so that actually to me looks a little bit too big still, so I'm going to shorten this. Oops, enable everything here. So I'm going to shorten this a little bit, probably to there. Edit, locate, center about origin. So what I'm doing is I've got everything centered now. As you can see, my modifier is right on the middle of everything. Now we're going to click the object, click the modifier, click the modifier. So right click the modifier, build, and we're going to go to modifiers and bind modifier. Double click the modifier, and this is going to be pretty steep. So let's go 150. Too much. Control Z to undo, or the undo tool up here. Let's try 120 like we did earlier. Kind of liking that. Okay, we're going to build. We're going to join solids. So what we're doing now is the modifier is only modifying or bending just the section that it's covering of the arch. So these portions of the arch will still be relatively straight with the curve in the middle. And what this does is it gives a little more of a realistic helium-packed arch look, in my opinion anyways. So we'll let this finish doing its thing. Any second now. There we go. So now you've got something that looks a little bit more like this. I know it's not an exact representation. You would obviously can play with it and see if you can get a little better look than I just did. Let's go ahead and tilt this right side up. Bringing this down like this. And again, I'm just doing everything I just taught you in the last one, just clicking, using the rotation tool, using the keys on the keyboard. We're going to edit, locate, center about origin, edit, locate, stand on ground, build. Oops. If you can't build and none of your build options are available, it's because you're in the viewpoint mode. You need to be in the selection mode. Build. And we're going to join solids again. And we will wait until it's done. The other option, obviously, when you're doing this is you can, if you want to, which I've done in the past, is you can obviously bend and modify this section and then use separate modifiers to put a slight bend into these sections as well to get a little more realistic look of a helium-filled arch. This is a quick, kind of dirty way to do it. So there it is. One view. Snap that. And then let's take a look at that. Let's unselect it so you get a better look. So you get something that's shaped a little bit more like that, a little more true to what an actual helium arch would look like for your client. So if you're wanting to get real technical. Okay, here, this is the rendering tool is doing something that it does sometimes. I'm going to go to render image, and you can see the render tool didn't come up, so you have to go to render again, render image. So I have to do it twice to get actually to the frame editor, and everything's still set to my defaults, anti-aliased. So there's kind of a little better representation of like a helium-filled arch. Okay? Alright, I think that's it for now. If you want to go ahead and save that, you can save that for later. I have a couple of framed arches that I do. I've gone ahead in my frame and arch builder and taken the time to get the dimensions on those and the balloon counts and things like that, and I have in my prefabs a small framed arch and a larger framed arch. So if you want to work on something like that, if you've got decor like that that you use quite a bit, obviously you can then take some time now that you know how to do this and go ahead and add that kind of stuff to your arch and column builder. Alright, next one when I come back, we will do a string of pearl arch, which is kind of the same technique, but we'll be stacking single balloons. Alright?